1 year ago, I revived the National Space Council and put exactly the right man in charge, and that's our friend, Mike Pence. Feels very strongly about this. And in December, I signed a historic directive that will return Americans to the moon for the first time since 1972. My administration is reclaiming America's heritage as the world's greatest spacefaring nation. 1 year from now, our nation will mark an important milestone in human history. Half a century since Americans first stepped off the Eagle and onto the moon. That was a big day, right? In that magnificent moment, the American astronaut embodied the incredible spirit of America, the confidence of a cowboy, the skill of a fighter pilot, the ambition of a scientist, and the courage of a true, brilliant, tough warrior. They bounded fearlessly into the unknown to be there first. They did the impossible because they knew that together there is absolutely nothing Americans can't do. When we get together, there's nobody even close. Now we are ready to begin the next great chapter of American space exploration.
We're honored to be at the White House today and the presence of the third meeting of the National Space Council here at the White House, surrounded by members of our council as well as by members of our user advisory group and other industry leaders and our distinguished panelists. The focus today will be on how we continue to move forward to permit greater private development of space, as you just heard the President reflect on, but also how we revive and continue to expand human exploration in space with American leadership and American platforms.
The goal here, following the President's Space Policy Directive 1, the goal is sustainability. We are underway executing the President's Space Policy Directive 1, which is our effort to return to the moon. The first program that we have getting to the moon is called CLPS, the Commercial Lunar Payload Services. What we call it at NASA, what we talk about is taking shots on goal. Commercial Lunar Payload Services. These are not expensive missions, and they're not carrying heavy payloads. But we're going to give commercial companies an opportunity to land on the surface of the moon, and we would be a customer of that. We're also going to put in orbit around the moon what we call Gateway. This is our opportunity to have more access to more parts of the moon than ever before. When you land on the surface of the moon, you're in one spot on the surface of the moon. But what we want is we want access to the entire moon. We also want to make sure that everything we develop is reusable. This ultimately gives us more access to our international partners. It puts us in a leadership position where the standards and interfaces are established by the United States of America. And then the landers that go from the Gateway to the moon, the tugs that go from low Earth orbit to the Gateway, it's all reusable. When we go to the moon, we're going, and as the President said in his speech, this time we're going to stay. We want to land Americans on the surface of Mars. And the technologies, the capabilities, the in situ resource utilization that we develop for the moon will ultimately get us to Mars. It's also why the Gateway is so important. Having an orbital outpost around the moon gives us more access to more parts of the solar system than ever before.
Thank you. Where's Bridenstine? Come here, sir. You got it. Is that okay, Mike? Thank you.